Hello, welcome to the beginning of my Baketorio playthrough. I'm out with just above over 800 downloads and no profile picture for that matter. It now has almost double the amount of downloads because the YouTuber dog Jade started that playthrough and I just never finished my video. It happens. Join me on my journey to a self-sufficient farm with hundreds of greenhouses. Almost alien-like technology that creates life and big production chains. I want to welcome you, finally after putting off the intro for 5 months, to Baketorio. If you want to know what mods I use, pause the video, but the most important ones besides Baketorio are listed here. I built up the basics because you still need some iron and copper for the machinery, and then looked what the Factorio mod is all about. You see, there are 2 new important buildings, the organic synthesizer and the greenhouse. The synthesizer is used for making seeds and animals that get used in the greenhouse. Here I made my first wheat and learned that seeds have a 10% chance to produce another seed of the same type. Out of the wheat I can make flour, then dough, and finally red science packs. The special thing about this mod is that all vanilla recipes are the same, with the exception of science packs and no require baking recipes like bread or salted hardtack. I looked in Helmut which one suits me more and found one with water as an extra input and one with salt, which I tried with the salt patch I found on the map and made my first science packs. But in the end, water seems very much easier to automate than salt, so I expanded my wheat production to make enough flour, dough and lastly bread for red science. Not long and I had my first automated red science. By the way, I was interested in what a hardtack version would look like, and to be honest, they are far too similar to make salt mining worth it, at least for red science. All those greenhouses and assembling machines take power, so I expanded coal, my steam power, and then made some early semi-automatic gears, green chips, and most importantly, nanobots from the same called mod. You don't know yet how important they were for my sanity. While I let those things craft, I looked through some of the recipes and found the nutrients you need to make seeds and animals, as well as being essentially food for the animals and fertilizer for the seeds respectively. On the one hand, I like that you can craft the nutrients out of basically everything in the mod, but on the other hand, I really don't like that you can craft them out of everything. In concept, this allows you freedom and lets you decide which path you want to go, but it really is so overwhelming that you either have to look through each of the hundreds of recipes or just hope that you have a good one. But criticism aside, my radar has detected what seems to be trona. I googled because I didn't know what it is and it seems to be a carbonate mineral and will likely be used as a food additive later. But in the end, we're still playing Factorio, so let's slap down some miners and furnace stacks for iron, copper, as well as the first small mouth for things I need often. I've heard good so far. Let's look at green science and oh my god, what the hell, what do you mean I need hundreds of assemblers and greenhouses? I guess I'm automating those as well? And this is where I realized I need to build big. I wanted to start with the first tier of nutrients that are needed for sugarcane. First, because there aren't just many of them, there are many for each tier. Each tier of them unlocks new recipes that I need for the next one and so forth. The process to make wheat to flour is the same now. But what's different is that I will need sugar for the dough to make sugary bread in the end, that I will use to make the nutrients. Before I started with the sugar, I finished the furnaces and hooked the assemblers up to some water and furnace the coal. Then for the sugar I copied the wheat design, but realized I need nutrients to begin with for the sugar canes itself. The process of making them is self-sustaining, but I need some to jumpstart the farms. So I made some quick and dirty space to make some level 1 nutrients and the seeds with the salted hardtack. As the farm started, I built up some small sugar production. This doesn't use nearly as much sugar cane as we produce, but the excess won't hurt either. The last step after baking the sugary dough was to turn it into nutrients and then hooking those up to the sugarcane greenhouses. Now we have an excess of nutrients, but a deficit of power, and I'm always so sad when I have to remove the ship. I looked at the milk recipes we need some nutrients for, because I saw that I need milk and butter besides flour, sugar and eggs for the next science tier. Flour is easy enough, if not big. If you wanna play this mod, I really recommend you to use an early bots mod like nanobots. The first thing I did was expand the sugar production. I knew that a sugarcane wouldn't hurt. Then the first spaghetti started, and the moment I thought about it, I checked if there's a spaghetti recipe. Sadly not. Maybe in Factorio or something. I connected the sugar and the flour to the assemblers and looked after that in Hell mode what's next. You see, the basic cake batter is for each the basic cupcake and the basic cake shape, that both need to be baked and lastly topped with frosting for the green signs. But for that I also need milk, and for the chemical blend steel, so here's another furnace stack. My energy output is at a limit due to all these machines and can only manage half of what is needed at full load. They need 16 megawatt, that's about 2/3 of my entire energy output. I knew greenhouses are energy intensive, but man is that much that early in the game. After that I tried to build up what I need for milk. And tried is the right word here. This thing isn't anywhere near the correct ratio, does not have nearly enough space and has really, and I mean really bad pipe connections. I later made a better version of this, but all you have to understand for now is that cows, fed with nutrients, produce raw, unpasteurized milk that needs to be pasteurized first in a chemical blend. This process gives milk and cream, and I can use another recipe to make much milk and water into a bit less milk and a bit cream. Helmer didn't really help me there, so I never really had a perfect ratio for no excess, because I needed both in many recipes. Milk of course for baking, but the cream gets used for making butter, that by the way needs more chemical blends, and frosting. I just built it and hoped it wouldn't deadlock itself. I tried to fiddle a bit with the ratio, but it's good enough. But for the milk to work I need cows, and for those new nutrients, tier 3 for making them in the first place, and then tier 2 for multiplying them. And because I needed tier 2 nutrients for making chickens that I also need, I made another quick and dirty automation for them too. Eggs make chicken, chicken make eggs, and eggs also make eggy dough for tier 3 nutrients. And if you always wanted to know, the chicken came first, but after the nutrients. I built up the tier 3s but thought that it was cramped in too much, so I moved it up a bit. The cows then need some time to increase population, but I still put the first into the greenhouses. But they don't just need to multiply, they then also need something to eat, so I made some tier 2 nutrients for them. And I don't know if I ever said nutrients as often as in this video. Sometimes you just need to appreciate the factory running and doing its thing. Doesn't it look beautiful? But all the building and watching didn't help. I still didn't have enough cows and made an extra cow production area. This really sounds weirder than it is, trust me. I just create them magically out of nutrients and I think that makes it sound even weirder. Never mind. Here I realized that I produced far too much milk and not enough cream. I wanted to fix it but got disturbed by some biters that needed some care. While taking apart the milk factory, I realized just how fast the butter crafts. I wonder how far I can take this with beacons in the late game. I built the milk production a bit down to the southwest, with hopefully better ratios and more understandable pipe design. I even downloaded a mod to help with that. I didn't yet have eggs, but could use the cream for the frosting. I just needed some more sugar, but that's not a problem. While attacking the biters in this area, I went to the Trona patch. It seems to need oil to get mined, just how uranium needs sulfuric acid. Good that there's oil basically next to it when we will need it. The frosting is now completed and hooked up to the basic shapes. Now it's just the eggs left. One thing I didn't quite understand is why there is a nutrients recipe that loses you some. I need 25 to make 20? The good old and trusty sugary dough variant I use just needs about 6 to make 20, so I'm not sure why we would need this. This is just a small mod with 800 downloads, and sometimes you just don't know if there's a later use or if something really is just unbalanced. Do you know what's happening here? Because I don't. And I want to make it clear once again that all these huge buildings would be pure agony without nanobots. And it sometimes still is, because I have to restock my items so many times. Here I wanted to be AFK for a bit to make a cool time lapse. And thank God I forgot my phone and went back to the PC. Otherwise the biters would cause havoc in my beautiful farm. As if nothing happened. The last step for the nutrients was to bake the sugary dough, with some bad coil connection. It always hurts my soul hearing the attack warning sound and only being able to walk slowly in that direction. I finished them up and with some spaghetti later, made the sugarcane self-sustaining. Do you have a chest with almost 1,000 cows? I again had power problems, but my starter patch couldn't handle enough steam boilers. So I went to another one. And then another one, because this one was too small. Funnily enough, I went out of electric poles and needed to mine some copper there, because I didn't want to walk all the way back for them. Power is good again, but I look forward to the day I have nuclear energy. Okay, last thing. Chicken pens for the eggs. Hooking them up and thanking myself that I prepared the chickens earlier. Do you have a chest with over 1,000 cows? I'm now almost finished with green signs, but just look at how much space it all needed. With the exceptions of the mall, of course. Normally it isn't that much bigger than red signs, and here I can fit it multiple times in just the wheat production for the green one. Finally, basic cake batter, both of the shapes, the baking and the frosting. Now only the assemblers for the green signs are left. And I thought, because red signs are so simple, I just move it down to the green signs. Perfect. Finally I can research again. For the next step, military signs, I will need a sword, which I have avoided so far. But that will be in the next episode. I'm pretty sure I will cut this into one big video in the end, and I wanted to do this from the beginning, but even this part took me so much time that I wanted to have something finished, just to have something finished. To learn each of the steps of what it takes to make such a video, and most importantly, being able to listen to critique, because I've never done this before, not recording, cutting or doing a voiceover. Thank you for watching. See you next time.